he had people come in there, a hobo, give him, I know Sam Larick, they called him. I just remember him. I was a little kid. He used to take me on the back and take me to bed upstairs. I used to sleep with him. And he come there as a bum, you know. They gave him a meal and got started talking. And he stayed there 3 years.
Oh.
Henry?
Yeah.
You know that he
I
hasn't
know.
slept?
My goodness.
We used to sleep together. Sam and I, yeah, we used to, not to do with the train.
Oh, okay.
Different hobo.
Oh, he just came walking along.
He came and then Dad got to talking with him and he didn't have no home or no place, and Dad says, well, stay here. He stayed there for 3 years, I guess. And he helped Dad with everything, never got no wages but his board.
You were telling me you saved the family.
And us kids, you know, he'd take me up on his
Henry,
back,
he gets wound up,
legs around his neck, you know, and carry me to bed, you know, and we'd sleep. Well, this night, it was in the winter, and you know, they had these old coal stoves, you know, sitting right in the, you know, the dining room where it was there.
Yeah, yeah.
Then in the corner there where the safe was.
Oh, in that bedroom?
That was the bedroom. That's where we were sleeping, Sam and I think.
Downstairs?
Downstairs.
Oh.
And in the middle of the night, I started to cry and woke Sam up. And when he woke up, he smelled gas. And I suppose I was just about getting hungry, you know.
Yeah.
Woke me up. And he grabbed us kids out of bed and he hollered at Dad and Mom, and he had a time waking them up because they was right near
Didn't overcome, yeah.
And the house was so full of gas, and they opened the door quick and got fresh air in there. He said they said if it wouldn't have been for me crying,
yeah.
they'd all been
That was a coal stove?
coal stove.
And they'd back up too?
Well, what they'd done, they shut the draft too tight.
Yeah.
And then it filled with gas, and then it leaked out in the whole house.
I see, just like a wood stove will do.
Then that's how people died that
Yeah.
days.
How old do you think you were then?
Oh, I maybe was about 5.
Yeah.
I suppose, I think it was Sam that was driving that team that got near killed, you know. Because he'd haul wheat, he'd work with Dad, and they made, he was an artist, he could make anything. And they made a wood out of foot, they pumped it with their foot to make a lathe, you know.
Oh, a turning lathe, foot-operated turning lathe. Yeah.
They made all kinds of things. It was just like turning a wheel,
Sure.
and then that wheel turned, then you put the thing in, clamped it in, and held a chisel on the wood.
Yeah, turning lathe, wood turning lathe.
Made a potato stumper out of wood. I know he made a comb box for my mother.
What?
Comb box, you know, they had a comb box always under the mirror.
Oh, yeah.
Nowadays you don't see that. But they had a box full of combs
Yeah.
there. And then on the box he had carved in there Lena. They all called her Lena because her name was Caroline, you know. But they called her Lena, you know. Lena. And I remember that old mailbox with L-E-N-A, Lena, you know. He made. And I remember old Sam Larry. But one day, a fortune teller, you know, them days they had fortune tellers. They'd come around and tell you a fortune. You paid them so much. And Sam says, tell my fortunes. He says, you should be ashamed of yourself. Why don't you go back to your family? He must have known his, what do you call it? He must have been a prophet or maybe a soothsayer. Anyway, he must have struck it. Because when Mom and Dad got home from Wells, he was gone. They never heard from him.
Never ever
No note or nothing. He just disappeared. But this fellow that got killed with the train, he came in the winter about 4 o'clock and he was hungry, wanted a bite to eat, and Dad had him come in and fed him a good meal, you know. And then it was 5 o'clock. We had a 5 o'clock passenger train, came from Broda, that's east of us, about a mile.
Oh.
Well, it came from Albert Lee, but Broda,
It stopped there.
Then came to Wells. This night it was a stormy night, a northwest wind, you know. Wells is northwest from where we lived, see. And the wind was blowing this way, and he was walking on the railroad, but he come up across to get lunch, you know. And then Dad warned him, he said, now be careful if you were going on the railroad, because this northwest wind, you want here, and this 5 o'clock passenger comes. And he left about 4:45 or 4:30, he left to walk to Wells. And you know where Hank Tachi's folks lived? That was the next place, the first place, about not a quarter of a mile from the railroad, up to the side of the railroad they lived.
Yeah.
And Hank and them were doing chores, and they always watched the train, and they saw this man walking on the railroad, and the train coming. They watched the passenger train. They always watched the trains, we did. They saw this man, and they said, boy, isn't he going to get off. And the train hit him and flew up in the air and over the fence it flew. And of course, killed him instantly.
Yeah.
Had his last meal at our place.
Yeah.
And they got him to Wells, and like a bum is, you know, he had a nickel, I guess, in his pocket and no notes of any kind. Didn't know who it was.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes. Poor boys, poor kids, you know, them days you couldn't get a job, and what are you going to do?
Yeah, sure different than now.
You just
See?
bum, no
You
welfare.
better put Gavin.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gavin. I know you gotta get some sleep. See you.
How are you gonna get home?
Oh, I'll hitch a ride.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that-
I meant
that's
like
something.
this, you'll maybe go out to the road.